Hello and welcome to another episode of the Interrobang Red Couch podcast. I am your host, Konstantinos Drossos, and I'm here with familiar face to my right here, Justin Koehler. Got your name right this time?
I love it. It's great. Better than the last one.
Right, man.
But yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, how have you been, man?
Good. Busy.
Good?
Busy but good.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a day off that I can come in
There
to
you
be
go.
here for
Familiar grounds and whatnot, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, well, not just that, but we have something to celebrate today. It's not only our 200th episode, but we've hit like 200 subscribers on the YouTube channel.
That's pretty crazy.
Pretty
I mean,
much.
200 episodes alone is pretty bonkers with how this podcast. I remember, I think, when they were celebrating their 100th episode, which didn't feel like terribly long ago.
Some time ago, right there.
But yeah, so pretty cool. 200 subscribers. Also, great little milestone too.
Yeah.
Love to hear that. That's spectacular.
It's really good for like a local, for school paper as well. It means that we have a lot of people who appreciate and love the content we produce, right? So before we continue on into the episode, can you just give a brief intro about yourself to our viewers who might not know you, who are new to the school and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I am a recent grad of Fanshawe. I was in the broadcast journalism program for a couple years, and throughout that time, I was with the Interrobang and a host predominantly in my second year. That would have been last year. Host for this exact very podcast, asking questions like you're doing right now. Since then, I am working as a news anchor and reporter with 570 News Radio or City News Kitchener, which has been a whole lot of fun. It's been really, really cool, covering a whole ton of stories. Most recently, the big election is coming up for Ontario. A lot of stuff on the federal levels coming up. So there's a whole ton of cool news things that I've gotten to talk about. And it's been a whole lot of fun. I'm also the broadcast host for the London Majors, so we're getting ready to kick up later this year. We've already started talks on all that front, so that'll be really cool. That'll be a lot of fun. So keeping busy. Lots going on.
That's awesome. It'd be awesome. The one time, because we used to work together at the X last year in the summer, I came up with my buddy to one of the to the London Majors games because our buddy who played for Barrie was playing, and it was funny seeing you just pull up next to us, be like, "All right, guys, how's it going?" And it's like, I was surprised to see you there. And I remember that you got the job, but I was like, I didn't know if I'd get a chance to see you, but like to see you actually in the stands communicating with people, that's pretty cool.
It's nice with what I get to do because sometimes I'll go in and I'll do the color commentary or the play-by-play and all that, but mostly I'm the host and the on-field reporter. So it's nice in that I get to kind of move around a little bit throughout the entire course of the game. So if there's people I know, I get to say, hey, I get to chat to a bunch of fans that are in the stands, and I get to talk to the players probably more than anyone else, which is really cool. It means I'm a little bit of everywhere at those games. So
And you also get to steal popcorn from people you know as well, because I remember you stole a few pieces from my bag.
Oh, any chance I can get. We'll sometimes have food up for the games, but there's some games where we don't have anything. So if I see a friend with nachos or with popcorn, yeah, I'm gonna go snipe some. That's part of the gig.
part of the job description. So let's dive into your start as a reporter. You said that you got your start here at the Interrobang, where you first kind of found your footing. What did you first hear? When did you first hear about the Interrobang, and what sparked your interest in joining the team when you were here at Fanshawe as a student?
So naturally, I mean, it's a big newspaper in particular around London. My sister had gone to Fanshawe. I'd been to Fanshawe before in the past for a couple different programs. So I'd naturally seen the Interrobang out and about, probably more so in the newspaper version than the online version. But as I was getting closer and closer, once I made the decision to come back to Fanshawe for broadcast journalism, I started, because naturally the algorithms figured out that I was going to Fanshawe with how many things I was searching. So I started to get recommended more articles, see more stuff online, and I was like, oh, hey, this looks pretty cool. I have a bit of a history. At that point, I had a history in marketing. So I was like, oh, I have a bit of writing experience. Why not reach out, see if I can jump on board? So I actually got in touch with Hannah, who was still running it at that time, just to see, hey, do you guys have a spot in your team? I'm coming into broadcast journalism this year. Do you need help? And so I actually got brought on pretty much right at the start when I came into college too, which was really nice, because then not only was I in school learning the journalism aspects of it, but then immediately being able to put it into practice through working for the Interrobang, which was a really cool experience. And then naturally I had a passion for broadcasting and getting paid to talk. So the podcast whole side of it was really appealing too. So as soon as that opportunity came up, I was like, yeah, in a heartbeat, I'll help out. So that's kind of how it all got going.
Same for me as well, because I heard about it from you and our old friend Maurizio, who used to work here as well, and came on to the summer team, not knowing what to expect, and I really liked it because it was kind of refreshing as well. Too, and I'm pretty sure you'd find it as well. Where like it's awesome to write about hard hitting news and stuff like that, but like with the Interrobang, it offers you the more freedom to explore topics that you might not get to explore in like a normal newsroom or something like that, right?
Yeah, 100%. Even in the newsroom that I'm in now, it's the exactly what you just said, where a lot of the times it's okay, what is the top story going on? That's what we're talking about. What's coming up down the pipeline? That's what we're going to talk about. With the Interrobang, you had a little bit more freedom, where if it's like, oh hey, a new music album's coming out, cool, let's talk about it. Ooh, like hey, there have been a couple really cool like vegan restaurants coming out. Let's talk about that. I got to do one on 31 horror movies for the 31 days of October, which was awesome. I
I remember
loved
that.
that, and wouldn't necessarily get to do that in any other newsroom. So it's a really cool opportunity with the Interrobang.
Yeah, I remember that meeting when you pitched that story and Hannah gave it a green light. It was like seeing a kid in a candy store. You're like, oh, more, 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 you know?
I was so happy. It ended up being way harder than I thought, because I was like, oh, 31 movies, that'll be easy. Way harder, just in terms of I could had to only pick one from each series, so I had to essentially be like, oh, what's my favorite Friday the 13th movie? Oh, what's my favorite Evil Dead movie, and go from there. And that made it easier said than done. That
Yeah.
article, but tons of fun, really cool.
Right. And then, also as a new reporter, when you had to find stories around campus, how did you go about navigating and finding your sources for your articles and stuff like that? How'd you go about doing that?
Well, the nice thing for the Interrobang and for Fanshawe in general is I was born and raised in London, so I already kind of had a little bit of a tap on the beat of the city a little bit in terms of what's going on day to day, big events that come around here and there, little kind of hidden gems throughout the city too. So anytime that it got a little bit slower and we needed to try and churn through ideas, if I wasn't going with a personal interest like horror movies or sneakers, I talked about that too. It was easy to say, hey, this is coming up on the pipeline. I know because I attended it last year, year prior. Let's get a story up on it. Oh, hey, this is a really cool part of town that has a really cool historical aspect. I know you did that a few times.
That was fun, yeah.
So it's nice kind of already knowing a little bit about the city that I'm working in, that when kind of dry spells hit in the news and you need to come up with something, having that in-depth knowledge of the city helped bring those ideas to mind.
That's true. And one thing I also want to add it to is when you kind of start working for the Interrobang, you kind of find a footing as to what type of like beat article writer you are, or like what your particular interest is. For me, I know is like it's been music for the past couple of times I've been working for the last year, I'd say. What was the one like column that you found yourself finding like enjoying to write for and
Oh,
stuff?
sports.
Yeah.
Sports in a heartbeat. I was probably one of the few people, especially in first year, that were doing the sports articles. So it was nice getting to talk with all the coaches and a bunch of the players. And because sports is already a big passion of mine and a direction that I eventually like to end up going in, it was nice being able to not only work in journalism while in school, but then also build experience in sports categories in particular while I was at school. So a lot of fun ones. My probably still my favorite article that I did with the Interrobang was when I got to go to one of the RBC training ground Olympic events, and I got to meet a bunch of Olympians, which was awesome.
That's pretty
I
cool.
I went through the event. I got back in my car afterwards to head home, and I immediately had to call my family and be like, "Hey, I just need to detox for a second because I was freaking out that whole time and had to contain myself." But so it was fun. It was nice getting to talk about all different sports too.
Yeah. I agree too. I remember like even like last year when we would be working together, the long conversations about trades and in baseball, or even mostly it was baseball for us because it'd be funny when we'd be watching the different. I remember you'd have like one tab open on the computer when we were analyzing the Otani trade
Hmm.
that was going through. I remember you and I were in constant communication, be like, is he coming? Is he not coming? And then the whole tracking of the jet when it turned out to be Herjavec rather than Otani.
Oh, it was awful.
That was brutal, man. Oh man, I remember like you're like, don't talk to me because I said, you're like, if it doesn't go through, I'm gonna cry.
I was working because I worked part time with a radio station out in Woodstock for a good chunk of time in college too. And I remember working, and it was the day of the Shohei Ohtani plane fiasco. And I was checking my phone every 5 minutes. I had the full flight tracker on my computer that I was looking at the whole time. And when it broke that it wasn't him and he signed with the Dodgers, I think later that day or the day after, I was devastated.
I know. I was at a Chick-fil-A when I found out the news, and it just ruined the entire experience. 'Cause it was my first time there. It's just when it opened, and I was like, wow, sad. Thank you, Otani, for ruining my experience.
But it's the joys and excitement of sports, though, which makes it so fun to write about at times, particularly in the off season too, when no one's playing. There's trades, there's people getting signed. It's a really fun time, and that can really translate over to the college end too. Less so on trades and signings, but
Yeah,
there's just so many different aspects of sports that you can talk about and get excited about the whole time. And on a college level, it really kind of gets overlooked at times of just how interesting it can be. So it made it
exactly.
really fun.
Yeah, no, especially like, I think I enjoyed seeing a lot of your articles about the Fanshawe baseball team as well, talking to different people, a couple friends that we've made through, the team that we got to speak to, and that's the other cool thing about working for the Interrobang too, is that the people that you interview, it's not even about you develop a relationship with them where it kind of transcends beyond the walls, and they become good friends of yours. Would you say that you made a lot of friends through being a reporter at the Interrobang?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, there's still a bunch of people that I talk to. And once you get these relationships going, once you have that first good interaction, those are people that you can then call back on in the future. For more newsy ends, there was a few
Yes.
times I got to talk to like city councilors, Josh Morgan, I've talked to a couple times, people more in the education side. And when those future stories then come back up of like, hey, like a head of this got fired, or oh hey, there's this updated budget for the like Thames Valley District School Board or whatever, you can then call back on those people and say, hey, would you have a few minutes to talk about this? And because you've already established that connection, they're like, yeah, in a heartbeat. And then there's the more personal side too, where you
Yeah.
talk to people and then you get like kind of friendships developing too. You mentioned a lot of the baseball and the athletics side. That was
Yeah.
probably the easiest one for me to build relationships
Exactly.
with,
Yeah.
just because of the shared passion. But yeah, it really stretches all across news and journalism in general.
Yeah, even it's a great way to, like you were saying, expanding your network. And if you're not sure about, if you have a source that you need for a particular article, you can reach out to someone who you may know in your network, and they may connect you with them, right? So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
great that way. So now we've talked about the reporter aspect of working for the Terabang. I want to focus on, because you said that you hosted the Red Couch for a long while.
A
What
good
was that
chunk of
like?
time.
What was that like for you as a first time podcast host? Given the reins of this, you know, amazing show, and figuring out different episodes and stuff like that. How did you go about that as a first time host?
It was fun. It was cool. I kind of had the benefit of getting transitioned in a little bit. Ben Harrietha, who used to work with the podcast, brought me on as a guest for the reporter rants, which sometimes we would do on the Red Couch podcast, just to talk with the reporters about the stories they were doing, what they were covering, that kind of behind the scenes side a little bit. So that's how I got the first little taste of it, the first intro. And after the first or second time that I was on, they're like, hey, let's bring you on to host. You'll actually run a few of these. And because I already had that bit of a taste of it, it made it easier to kind of get the pulse and the rhythm of how these episodes go from one to another. And then from there, it's finding people to talk about, or like finding people to talk to, topics to talk about. A lot of that kind of coincided with what was going on at the college, everything going on. So student elections, turnarounds for events, all that sort of thing. So it made it easy enough at times to find who to talk to. But then it's a good tool in building your social skills, just in terms of having conversations with people, because sometimes, because of how quick these episodes can get churned out, they sometimes are topics that you have no idea what they are going in, that you have to quickly research and just build rapport off the person that's on the other half of the couch with you.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it makes it fun. It makes it interesting. It almost challenges your improv skills a little bit at times too on that front. But it's lots of fun. And as a journalist, as a reporter, it builds your personal knowledge. It grows your skills the entire time, and it's fun. And we already mentioned it. The relationship building off of that too is huge.
It's
Building
a
that network.
it's a massive key. And again, like, at first, I don't know if you experienced, but for myself, like when you first, because I was given the opportunity to host it as well with Maurizio and Alex back in the summer, it was daunting, managing all those episodes. But then after, and especially with a 25, minute limit, or you have to hit. After a bit, it just becomes smooth like butter. Like once you figure out the conversation aspect of it, and it makes it much more easier to communicate and connect with these people, it's a better experience, and it just becomes more fluid in that aspect.
Yeah, and it's all about the team too. Like the team at the Interrobang is incredibly strong. There's so many
Yes.
people to rely on. Particularly when I was in second year last year, it was Gracia and I who were hosting, and Gracia's spectacular, amazing person. So it's nice being able to build off each other, see what the other person was doing week to week, and then it also gives you a little bit more time to structure the episodes. You're kind of thinking in a few weeks ahead rather than not having the time and having to just go week to week to week.
Yeah.
So it's a really good team aspect, not just for the podcast, but for the Interrobang as a whole too.
Yeah. And what were some of your favorite episodes that you got to film or even record here during your time as a host?
That's a good question. Um, Probably one of the ones. It's the ones that are more directly student focused. So I got to talk to Stefan Satya, who was the FSU president at the time,
Yeah.
about the election, his win at the time. I think he had just won. Talking about things that he was wanting to incorporate, some of the highs and lows of what we was seeing across Fanshawe College as a whole, that he was either hoping to get his finger on the pulse on or eventually change during his time there, was really, really cool. And that was one of my first kind of like solo podcast episodes, which made it a really cool experience. That was probably the big one. I got to talk to one of the associate deans at one point, the one for our school, the School of Contemporary Media at the time,
Right.
which was really cool because he was stepping down, I think, a few months after that. So it was really cool to kind of ask how he got into it, what he was seeing across the board during his time there, what he was starting to see down the road, and his general influence and thoughts on the school that he was ahead of. And again, that has like direct ties to the students. It has like exact ties to Fanshawe College as a whole, which made it really interesting, not just for me to listen to, but then hopefully for people to listen as well.
Yeah. I think one episode that I actually got to film with you in the summer of 2023 was with Alex. And we kind of took a different turn around that point because we figured, you know what, if we're going to be doing the podcast now and there's not going to be a whole lot, I don't know, I guess to do because it was the summer, I guess to a degree, let's create promos for each episode that we film. And the
Yeah.
one that we got to film with you, that was like, I think, such a memorable experience where it's like, at the time you're working at the X. And it's like you were coming back to, film with us. And it's like, what are you doing talking on my show?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was a
fun.
lot of fun. The summers were really cool. You mentioned that that whole crew, you, Maurizio, Alex, all worked for the Interrobang. I was, like you mentioned, working for the X, but of course I was coming here for coffee all the time. So I
course,
still
yeah.
got to talk with you guys. It was cool to still see you guys run it on your own, and kind of having those few months of being on the outside looking in a little bit was a really cool experience for me. But then, yeah, getting to jump in on those promos was, first off, hilarious. That was a
Yeah,
great
they
time.
were hilarious.
Yeah, lots of fun.
Yeah, no, it was good too because like we'd be working there and like sometimes like we always had a specific time where you would show up because we would be working upstairs right outside the Department of Communications there, the offices there, and then if 9 o'clock hit and we didn't see you, we're like, "Where's Justin? Is he even here today?" It's like a welfare check almost. We had to call in, but it was awesome because we you, me, and Maurizio and Alex, we just go down, grab coffee, shoot the stuff a little bit, and then go back to work, which was kind of fun. But kind of going into the X though too. What was that like working for them over the summer? I did it the one time, but you did it for 2 years in a row. What was that like?
It was great. The 2 years were very, very different from one another. It was a lot of fun. It was cool, almost getting to manage the newsroom a little bit more than just being a reporter anchor for it. Having that more direct, hands-on approach during the summers was a really cool experience. First year was a little bit chaotic. I was the only full-timer on staff during the first summer, which was brutal, but
Right, yeah.
really cool in terms of almost falling into, like I said, that manager experience a little bit, particularly when the professors are on vacation, they're not there. So I was kind of almost overseeing a few people and the work that they were doing week to week, which was a lot. It was very busy, but really, really cool. Second year, it was more how it was designed to have operated in the first year, but it was nice getting to work with you a bit closer.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Which was a lot of fun. And so, yeah, it was nice being able to put everything from not only the Interrobang, but from the program into practice more independently during those summer months, and then not losing any of that time once the next semester kicked in too. So it was really incredible, valuable experience, and it's nice being on the radio. It's a lot of fun.
There you go, yeah. And now, kind of moving beyond Fanshawe, you kind of touched upon it earlier on in the episode. You're now working in Kitchener at 570, if I'm correct.
Yes.
What has that like been? What has that been like ever since you've left Fanshawe?
It's good. It's a grind. They say once you get into news, it's all about feeding the wheel, and that it is incredibly the case. I have the pleasure of being on the morning team during the weekdays, and then I'm one of the anchors on the weekends. So it's nice being able to split my time between kind of more helming the newscasts versus more contributing to them. And the weekdays, each day, each story is almost completely different. I'll have one day where I'm talking about the weather. We were talking about these big snowstorms that we just endured not long ago for the past few weeks.
Oh.
And then the day after, I'd be talking about real estate figures and new projections that were coming in for Waterloo Region, which is Kitchener's in.
Right.
And then the next day, we're talking about local elections and tariffs and how that impacts locally on the local level. And so it's made it really, really cool, learning a whole lot about a whole bunch of different topics. And it's nice being in a room of people where that is they've made it there too. That this is also their career, so they're working just as hard as you are to churn out these stories, and it's really cool. It's nice being with Rogers because we get to talk about like the Blue Jays a lot. We get to talk about the Raptors.
Yeah.
We do Maple Leafs coverage too. So it's nice still having that pulse on the sports side too, and it's really cool. It's been a whole lot of fun.
That's amazing. And then also, you kind of talked about it with the weather and stuff, with the commute. How has that been working to your schedule and stuff like that?
Oh, it's been the worst is gas. That's probably the only big downside. Well, that and the kilometers on my car, but it's just been a great opportunity in terms of. It's nice having that commute. Some people I don't think would be able to do it as well. I like having the hour in the morning to turn on some tunes, just have some coffee. No one's in a Tim Hortons line at 3 in the morning when I have to drive into work.
Benefits.
Yeah, I get benefits. But it's nice almost in a way also having my work city be a little bit different than my home city. I thought that would maybe be a tough factor in terms of keeping my pulse on what's going on in the city, but it's then almost nice to finish work, go home, and just tune it all out. That was one of the tough sides in news is you never really turn off the news. You're always tapped into it, even when you're
Right.
on your phone, on social media, that's all you're thinking about.
Right.
So it's nice to have that little bit of separation a bit.
I agree. It's nice to have it. It makes it easier to divide work life from personal life. So I agree with that. And being there, what have been some crazy stories that you'd say that you've loved covering, or since your time joining the 570 team?
It's nice working for the London Majors, covering Kitchener Panthers stories because they're in the same league. It's nice getting that different perspective between teams, which has been a lot of fun. They just went through a really big sale, so this year's going to be a big change for them. I had one crazy story about a woman in Guelph who thought she was stabbed, called police. It was just a bee. She got stung.
I was about to read
And
that. Yeah, I remember
so
that.
that was just, I filled that story with a bunch of bee puns. And I asked them, I was like, hey, is this okay? And they're like, yeah, it's a crazy, ridiculous story. Go nuts. So I had a ton of fun with that one. I've also started to really like real estate in a weird way. I didn't think I would. It's nice talking about houses and rent prices and affordability on that front because it's a huge topic across the board right now that also directly impacts me as a recent student.
Right. Yeah.
So those have been a bunch of the fun ones. Naturally, there's still a lot on the pipeline. Things like tariffs, I also find interesting to talk about because it's a huge, big Canadian national issue that's going on all across North America. So it's exciting. That's one of the fun ones to talk about. I'd say those are the big ones. Those have been the fun ones.
I know it's a lot, man. Like again, you kind of touched on it. It's a big transition when you move on into the actual work field. It sounds like it's like a grind.
It is, but it's fun as long as you enjoy it and you're willing to put in the work to get the end result. It's nice seeing everything then come together. And because of how big the station is, they have almost, I think, 200,000 followers just on Twitter alone. It's nice to then directly see people like react and respond because it's a more in-depth station. It's nice to get access to all the statistics and the numbers coming in real time at times for your articles that you're pumping out. So it's nice to see just how directly they impact the local community, which has been fun.
Interesting. Now I wanted to move into something that haven't done in a while. But we used to do with guests back in the summer, and that is lightning round questions.
Oh my god!
But don't fret. Like if you want to take some time to think about your answers and give a little bit more of an explanation, don't be afraid to. So I'm going to start off them right now. And first question I have is, what is a TV show you could binge watch forever?
How I Met Your Mother.
Same.
Love that show. There's a few Suits I'll run through on a regular basis. Dexter I'll run through on a regular basis. Downton Abbey is a great show. I'll run through that one on a regular basis too. I'll also kind of cycle between the two, but How I Met Your Mother has a special place in my heart.
Yeah, no, I remember a couple times, throughout our time together in journalism, we'd make a couple puns. So it was nice to have another, How I Met Your Mother fan in there. Who is your favorite movie director?
Ooh, tough one. I mean, Nolan comes to mind in terms of the movies that I would say are some of my favorites. He pushes out a lot of like things like The Prestige, Memento, Interstellar, Inception, like just really, really good, high quality stuff. Um, it's French. Is it Denis Villeneuve? He does
Oh,
Dune.
yes, yes, yeah,
Or
yeah. The guy from
Dennis
Quebec.
Villeneuve, whatever, however you pronounce it. I'm a big cinematography nut.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
like how things are shot. So I believe he did Blade Runner 2049, which is a beautiful movie. Same with all the Dune movies and all that.
Right.
So it's just incredible to look at. So he's probably up there too.
I agree with that. I know you're a big gamer too. What is a good favorite throwback video game that you'll throw on just for nostalgic sake?
I'm a big fan of the Uncharted games. Uncharted 2 remains my favorite game of all time. But I also go back to old school stuff. I play through Mega Man 2 on my NES
Oh, wow.
because I love that. The old Castlevania. I have a weird in-depth knowledge of Castlevania 2 and all those games, so those are fun ones to go back to. But yeah, Uncharted 2. If you haven't played Uncharted 2, go play Uncharted 2. I love that game.
I think the entire Uncharted series is a really good one too. I just played 4 on my PC.
So good.
Amazing. I know you're also a music nut as well, just like myself. What is what is one of the best concerts you've ever been to?
My favorite one, it's bittersweet, is I went to a concert for Nightwish, which is kind of like a classical metal, like orchestral metal
All right.
group. I love them. They're great. But the day that I went to go to a concert in Toronto to see them, I had just finished a big track and field meet. So my legs were jello. We had mosh tickets. We went in, and every time that they had a slower song, I would kneel down. I'd be like, okay, my legs need a break. And then as soon as it got back up, I'd stand up, get all the energy gone, and then I'd have to sit back down. So lots of fun.
Yeah, that's a good one. If you had to pick, the last one I got here is if you had to pick one '90s 2000 song as your entrance music, what would it be?
Oh, that's mean. Anything My Chemical Romance. How I Disappear is a lot of fun. Welcome to the Black Parade is also up there.
Like that one's a good one.
But Holiday by Green Day's on there too. And We're in Heaven by Very Big Change.
Yeah.
Like, baby, you're all that I want.
Oh yeah.
I forget who that's by, but that's just also a fun one up there.
I'd agree though too. Like rather than just having an entire just one song to walk out to, why not just have an entire playlist
A
on
nice little
Spotify?
cycle.
Just like blast on a boombox walking into the office, be like, I'm here.
I'm also just too indecisive.
There you go.
I struggle at picking one of anything.
It's amazing. Well, man, I think that's all the time we got today. Thank you for watching, guys. Find us anywhere you get your podcasts, or watch for more episodes of the Interrobang Red Couch podcast on our YouTube channel. For the Interrobang, I'm Konstantinos. This is Justin. You want to do a sign off?
And thank you guys so much for 200 episodes and 200 subscribers. Incredible accomplishment. Thank you so much for hosting and being a part of that, and kind of, I guess, taking on the torch of hosting.
Yeah, man.
It's been a wild ride. Here's to 200 more.
There you go. We'll see you next time, guys. Take it easy.